Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 6, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's college basketball games, look at tonight's games, as well as make my picks for the Final Four and the National Champion, because I forgot to do that on the podcast yesterday. NBA, NHL, college football, go over games from last night, look ahead to tonight's games. Cam Newton out for the season. What does that mean for the Panthers? And my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start with college basketball. A ton of games last night, obviously. We're going to go through them all, and I'll do quick takeaways from certain results if necessary. So, without further ado, here we go. We're going to start with the ranked games and then work our way down. Number 2, Kentucky over number 1, Michigan State, 69-62. Great win for John Calipari's team to open the season. Disappointing loss if you're Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Number 4, Duke over number 3, Kansas, 68-66. This was the better of the two games. And this was a big win for Duke and those young freshmen. Disappointing loss for Kansas. Number 5, Louisville over Miami, 87-74. Great win for Louisville on the road by double digits in conference play. Number 6, Florida over North Florida, 74-59. Number 7, Maryland over Holy Cross, 95-71. Number 8, Gonzaga over Alabama State, 95-64. Number 10, Villanova over Army, 97-54. Number 12, Seton Hall over Wagner, 105-71. Number 13, Texas Tech over East Illinois, 85-60. Number 14, Memphis over South Carolina State, 97-64. James Weissman played very well, lived up to the hype. Number 15, Oregon over Fresno State, 71-57. Number 16, Baylor over Central Arkansas, 105-61. Number 17, Utah State over Montana State, 81-73. Number 19, Xavier over Jacksonville, 76-57. Number 20, St. Mary's over Wisconsin, 65-63 in overtime. Number 24, Auburn over Georgia Southern, 83-74. Number 25, VCU over St. Francis, Pennsylvania, 72-58. And on to the rest of the games. Middle Tennessee over Maryville, 119-61. Lamar over Champions Christian, 86-40. Tulsa over Houston Baptist, 80-72. A big upset. Washington Adventurous over Howard, 71-58. That is just a disaster for Howard to open up their season, losing to Division II school. Yikes. That's equally as bad as losing a bye game, and we'll get to a couple bye losses here as we continue. Duquesne over Princeton, 94-67. Northwestern State over Centenary, 84-57. Wright State over Central Ohio, 96-77. Bucknell over Fairfield, 68-64. Michigan over App State, 79-71. Tennessee over UNT Asheville, 78-63. Rhode Island over Long Island, 76-65. Hartford over Central Connecticut State, 74-59. Yale over Stony Brook, 74-69 in overtime. Delaware over Bridgewater, 97-51. UNC Greensboro over NCA&T, 83-50. FA over Flagler, 92-81. Wofford over Erskine, 86-63. Fairleigh Dickinson over FDU Florham, 101-52. UMBC over Valley Forge, 134-46. They almost beat them by 100. That's insane. Morehead State over Samford, 90-86 in double overtime. Northern Kentucky over Cincinnati Claremont, 105-55. Oakland over Goshen, 94-66. Virginia Tech over Clemson, 67-60. An impressive win for Mike Young in his first game as coach at Vatech. Indiana over Western Illinois, 98-65. Penn State over Maryland Eastern, 84-46. St. Joe's over Bradley, 86-81. East Carolina over VMI, 80-68. Providence over Sacred Heart, 106-60. Georgia over Western Carolina, 91-72. George Mason over Navy, 68-55 in overtime. Towson over George Washington, 72-58. UMass over UMass Lowell, 79-64. Cornell over Binghamton, 84-64. New Hampshire over Curry, 93-29. Campbell over Coastal Carolina, 75-74. Furman over Gardner-Webb, 70-63. William & Mary over High Point, 70-56. Longwood over Marymount, 73-51. Monmouth over Lehigh, 66-62. Rider over Coppin State, 91-84. Brown over Bryan, 73-71. UNC Wilmington over Johnson and Wales, North Carolina, 103-83. Northeastern over Boston University, 72-67. Akron over Malone, 81-64. Tiffin over Bowling Green, 94-73. Ball State over Defiance, 87-43. Central Michigan over Michigan Dearborn, 102-62. Harvard over MIT, 84-27. Charleston over South Carolina Upstate, 74-55. Eastern Kentucky over Chattanooga, 79-68. Elon over Mars Hill, 90-84. Charleston Southern over Columbia International, 99-71. Ohio over St. Bonaventure, 65-53. Lipscomb over Rhodes, 104-55. Sam Houston State over Paul Quinn, 95-57. Siena over American, 96-80. Youngstown State over Thiel, 101-53. Tennessee Martin over St. Louis, 106-48. UL Monroe over Louisiana College, 64-41. South Dakota State over Texas Rio Grande Valley, 70-57. Western Kentucky over Tennessee Tech, 76-64. Milwaukee over Concordia, Wisconsin, 72-62. Temple over Drexel, 70-62. North Texas over Edmond, 79-40. Southern Miss over Delta State, 90-71. Penn over Alabama, 81-80. A big win for Penn in the Ivy League. Disappointing loss for Nato to his first game at Bama. Marquette over Loyola, Maryland, 88-53. Kansas State over North Dakota State, 67-54. Arkansas over Rice, 91-43. Louisiana over Loyola, Louisiana, 95-67. Texas Arlington over Texas Dallas, 84-50. Tennessee State over Alabama A&M, 106-66. New Orleans over Spring Hill, 114-58. Loyola Chicago over UC Davis, 82-48. Lafayette over Columbia, 65-63. Little Rock over Missouri State, 67-66. That's a pretty big upset because Missouri State was obviously the MVC favorite. Little Rock, obviously, a team that was projected to finish at the bottom of the Sun Belt this year, so that's a surprising result. Southern Illinois over Illinois Wesleyan, 76-48. Wait, I did that one already. Texas, did I skip something? No, I didn't. So, Penn over Bama, we said. Marquette over Loyola, Maryland, 88-53. Tennessee State and Bama A&M, we did. New Orleans over Spring Hill, we did. Kansas State over North Dakota State, 67-54. Rice over Arkansas over Rice, 91-43. Lafayette over Columbia, 65-63. Little Rock over Missouri State, 67-66. Like I said, that was a surprising result there. Loyola Chicago defeats UC Davis, 84-48. We said that already. We did Texas Dallas and UT Arlington. So Minnesota over Cleveland State, 85-50. Illinois over Nicholls, 78-70 in overtime. Iowa State over Mississippi Valley State, 110-74. Oklahoma over UTSA, 85-67. SMU over Jacksonville State, 74-65. South Florida over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 70-41. Mississippi State over FIU, 77-69. Texas over North Colorado, 69-45. St. Louis over Florida Gulf Coast, 89-67. Stetson over Trinity Baptist, 84-26. Wichita State over Omaha, 68-54. UIC over Olivier Nazarene, 75-72, so they barely survive against a Division II team. Northern Iowa over Old Dominion, 58-53. That was probably my best play, and it barely won. Northern Iowa giving the 4.5. Valpo over Toledo, 79-77. So that's an upset that I liked. Chicago State over Judson College, 103-60. Prairie View over Jarvis Christian, 100-62. SIU Edwardsville over Quincy, 61-52. Austin Peay over Oakland City, 110-67. Abilene Christian over Arlington Baptist, 90-39. Georgia Tech over NC State, 80-81 in overtime. So the team I picked to finish last in the conference goes out and beats an NC State team that I thought was a possible tournament team, but now that's a bad loss to start your season if you're NC State. Norfolk State over Greensboro, 100-59. New Mexico State over West New Mexico, 92-46. UTEP over New Mexico Highlands, 93-70. Creighton over Kennesaw State, 81-55. Utah Valley over Westminster, Utah, 72-55. UMKC over Avila, 102-49. Colorado State over Denver, 74-63. Here's an upset. Davenport University over Grand Canyon, 82-73. Yikes. I had Grand Canyon finishing top 3 in the WAC this year. That's not a good way to start your season. Wyoming over Idaho State, 54-40. DePaul over Alcorn State, 72-54. UC Riverside over Nebraska, 66-47. So that's a bad loss for Nebraska in Fred Hoiberg's first game. Southern Utah over Bethesda, 110-66. Texas State over Texas Lutheran, 103-45. BYU over Cal State Fullerton, 76-58. Eastern Washington over Portland Bible, 107-25. Fordham over St. Francis Brooklyn, 68-59. Idaho over Evergreen State, 88-82. UC Irvine over San Diego, 76-73. Cal over Pepperdine, 87-71. Pepperdine was a favorite by 2 on the road. And Cal was supposed to be one of the worst teams in the Pac-12 this year, and they were getting points at home against a lower school team from the West Coast Conference. Well, Pepperdine's more of a mid-major than giving credit for than a small major, or like a smaller school. San Diego State over Texas Southern, 77-42. UNLV over Purdue Fort Wayne, 86-71. Boise over Life Pacific, 126-49. Pacific over Stanislaus State, 69-47. Loyola Marymount over West Cliff, 105-62. Santa Clara over UC Santa Cruz, 97-52. Seattle over Pacific Lutheran, 98-64. San Francisco over Sonoma State, 101-50. Portland over Willamette, 86-36. Cal Baptist over Jackson State, 93-70. Cal State Bakersfield over North Dakota D'Amour, 103-51. Utah over Nevada, 79-74. I said that was a possible upset. Nevada was favored in that game. Portland State over Puget Sound, 94-69. Oregon State over Cal State Northridge, 87-67. And USC over Florida A&M, 77-48. All right, tonight's slate is much smaller than last night. 6 o'clock, ESPNU, Wake Forest, Boston College, 2 bad teams in the ACC. Give me Boston College there, and I think they cover. 6:30, Fox Sports 2, IUPUI and Butler. 6:30, Fox Sports 1, Mercer and St. John's. 7 o'clock, ACC Network, North Carolina hosts Notre Dame. UNC is a 10-point favorite. I think that Carolina covers here and wins, obviously. But I don't know if the over is, but I'd bet the over right now. If the over-under was anything less than 160, I'm betting the over. This is a lock over for tonight, in my opinion, with Notre Dame and North Carolina. Green Bay, number 23, Purdue. Purdue should have no problem there. NJIT, Colgate, North Alabama, South Carolina. Mount St. Mary's, Georgia, or Georgetown, I should say. Merrimack and Maine. Welcome to Division I, Merrimack. Hampton over Mid-Atlantic Christian. San Jose State over Hofstra. McNeese over Western Michigan. Newberry over East Tennessee State. Johnson, Florida over Bethune-Cookman. Central Penn over Morgan State. Haram over in Kent. What am I saying? Over. Johnson, Florida, Bethune-Cookman. Central Penn, Morgan State. Haram, Kent State. Broome Parker, Georgia State. Loyola, Louisiana, and Southern. So that's a back-to-back for them. Latorno and Stephen F. Austin. Charlotte, James Madison. 8 o'clock, Belmont and Illinois State. Louisiana Tech, A&M, Corpus Christi. East Texas Baptist, Grambling. ESPNU, Florida State at Pitt. FSU's laying 4 on the road. This one's a tough one for me. I could see Pitt hanging around in this game. It's their first home game. Obviously, the ACC is doing conference games early because of the debut of the ACC network, which is very strange. I think Florida State wins the game, and I think they barely get the cover. I thought Miami would cover last night against Louisville. I was obviously wrong there. But I think FSU will cover against Pitt, but barely. I can see Florida State escaping out there with like a 7-point road win. Northwestern State at Texas A&M. Southeast Missouri State at Vanderbilt. Southeast Louisiana at Tulane. Oral Roberts, Oklahoma State. Incarnate Word, Mizzou. Pikeville, South Alabama. 8:30, Fox Sports 1, Cincinnati at number 18, Ohio State. This is a great game. I know these two teams met last year to start the season, and Ohio State pulled out the upset on the road. In terms of a pick, this is very tough. I'm going to say that Ohio State wins by double digits. Cincinnati with the new coach, starting on the road, doesn't really bode well, in my opinion, for the Bearcats. So I'm going to say that the Buckeyes come out there, it's something to prove, and win by double digits. Although Cincinnati may have the best player on the court in this game, Jerron Cumberland, and I think he'll put up his numbers. Arkansas is Monticello and Arkansas State. Chicago and DePaul. 9 o'clock ACC Network. Number 11 Virginia at Syracuse. Virginia's a 3-point road favorite. I think Virginia wins and covers here. Syracuse, I don't think is going to be good this year. They weren't really that good last year, although they made the tournament. And I can see where they sneak in, but I just think that Virginia is the better team. They're the reigning champions, and they want to prove that they're no fluke. So give me Virginia minus a 3. Won't be shocked if they win by double digits. And another play here is that I would like the under in this game. Northern Arizona at number 21, Arizona. Arizona should have no problem there. East New Mexico at New Mexico. 10 o'clock Jackson State at UC Santa Barbara. Montana at Stanford. And 11 o'clock Long Beach State at UCLA. Okay, now I'm going to do my Final Four and National Championship picks because I did not do that on yesterday's podcast. So my Final Four, I'm going to take from my projected bracket. I just hope that it really works out in a way of how I have my projected bracket, because if I did this and nothing works out, and that's obviously not very good. So I would have, in the Midwest, I would have Michigan State. In the West, I'd have Louisville. In the East region, where would I have Oregon on my... Oh, in the Midwest, I would have them in the same region as Michigan State. So if I had to redo my projected brackets, maybe I would put Oregon in the South and switch them with Duke. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my original predictions, although my bracket came out very weird, and I didn't put thought into my preseason predictions for putting my Final Four in separate regions. So, whatever. Michigan State, Louisville, Oregon, and Villanova. And I had 3 of the same teams in the same region that in my Final Four. So let's say Villanova East, Michigan Midwest, Oregon South, and then Louisville in the West. And in terms of a national title pick, I'll go Michigan State over Louisville. I think that Michigan State's the best team. I still think that Joshua Langford will come back and give them a boost. They're better than what they showed last night, obviously. And I think that they're still going to be the team to beat. They normally play well in March. They did last year. Many people thought they were going to win the title last year after they were presumptively the best team left, that many people thought, because nobody believed in Virginia, Texas Tech. I don't think anybody really believed in either. And then I'm blanking on the 4th team that was there as well. But, oh wait, it was Auburn. And nobody really believed in Auburn either. So, yeah, my projected bracket, I had 3 teams in like the same region. So, a redo of that, I'll do Michigan State Midwest, Louisville in the West, Oregon in the South, Villanova in the East, and then Michigan State over Louisville in the title game. And then for Louisville, I think that they are a very good team. Chris Mack, I think, is a top 5 coach in America. I think that people underappreciated him at Xavier because he had some underachieving regular season years, and then he goes to the Elite Eight. And he got his team ready for the tournament and for March, despite being an 11 seed. I believe that was in 2017. So he's always somebody that gets a lot out of his players, and I think that he's going to do a great job with this Louisville team led by Jordan Nwora. And then for Villanova, I think that Jay Wright's going to play a lot of young guys, and I think guys like Colin Gillespie will make a big jump this year. And to me, Villanova is like an every other year type of team, as we saw the last few years, because 2 years ago they won the title, and then 4 years ago they won the title. So this will be an every other year situation. So instead I just put them in the Final Four rather than picking them to win the whole thing. And then the other team I chose was Oregon. I think Peyton Pritchard has a big year. I think their freshmen are going to be really good. And I think Dana Altman is somebody else that is a very solid coach that gets a lot out of players. And I remember they made the Final Four a few years ago, and they didn't have their best player there, or else they, who knows, maybe they would have won the title. So you never know with that random what if from Oregon from a few years back. Okay, next up we'll look back at the NBA games from last night and look ahead to tonight's slate. Some interesting results and some interesting games on tonight's slate. So last night, Hornets over the Pacers, 122-120 in overtime. Hornets, a very pleasant surprise so far this season. They are, I believe, 3-5 on the season. No, 4-3. Holy shit. And then Indiana's 3-4. They've been a disappointment. Celtics over the Cavs, 119-113. Gordon Hayward was incredible. They're 5-1. Cleveland is 2-5. Hawks over the Spurs, 108-100. Atlanta 3-3. San Antonio 4-3. Trae Young's back. John Collins begins his suspension. So a nice, inspiring win for the Hawks in Trae Young's first game back, and a very disappointing loss for San Antonio. Thunder over the Magic, 102-94. A nice win for the Thunder, who are 3-4. Orlando's 2-5. Lakers over the Bulls, 118-112. Lakers came back from double digits down to beat the Bulls, who dropped to 2-6. Lakers are now 6-1, and Anthony Davis was incredible, as was LeBron James. Nuggets over the Heat, 109-89. This was my lock pick of the NBA slate. Denver's 5-2. Miami is also 5-2. Tonight's slate is pretty big. 7 o'clock, you have the Knicks at the Pistons. Wizards at the Pacers. 7:30 ESPN. Warriors at the Rockets. Bulls at the Hawks. Kings at the Raptors. 8 o'clock, Timberwolves at the Grizzlies. 8:30, Magic at the Mavericks. 9 o'clock, 76ers at the Jazz. 10 o'clock, ESPN. Bucks at the Clippers. In terms of my picks for each game, I'm going to take the Rockets to win, but Golden State to cover in the first game of the ESPN doubleheader, which will be called by Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy. And then the second game of the doubleheader between the Bucks and the Clippers, no Kawhi Leonard. I'm going to take the Bucks to win, but I don't know if they'll cover. I think the Clippers might hang around a little bit, although Giannis is the best player on the court easily in this game. So I could see a world where they win by double digits too. This is tough. That's a tough number. I'm going to say the Bucks cover the number. But my best play on the board for tonight, I'm going to say the Pistons -4 against the Knicks. This number is very low to me. I thought the Pistons would be somewhere like a 7 or 8 point favorite. So I think we're getting a couple points here of value. And it's funny because I think I picked against the Knicks a couple times already on the podcast in terms of best NBA play, and it's bit me in the ass. And I know I definitely did opening night when I took San Antonio. The Knicks covered by, I believe, a half point. So who knows, maybe I get bit in the ass. But this number is very low, and I think Detroit will win. Blake Griffin's on his way back, but I don't know if he'll be playing tonight, but I think Andre Drummond will crush the boards. I think that Luke Kennard's an improved player. I think Dave Fizdale is the worst of the coaches. I think Casey is the better of the coaches. So my lock of the night in terms of the NBA is Detroit giving 4 at home against the New York Knicks. NHL, last night's games. There are a lot of them. There's only 2 tonight. Isles over the Senators 4-1. The Islanders 11-3-0, 10 straight wins. Ottawa's 4-9-1. Flyers over the Hurricanes 4-1. Philly gets a much-needed win at home in division. Golden Knights over the Blue Jackets 2-1. Vegas 9-5-2. Columbus 5-7-3. Canadiens over the Bruins 5-4. I wanted to pick Montreal in this game, but I didn't have the balls to do it. But this was a big-time win for the Habs, who are 8-5-2. Boston's 11-2-2. Maple Leafs over the Kings 3-1. Toronto's 8-5-3. LA is 5-10. Devils over the Jets 2-1 in a shootout. A nice win for New Jersey. 4-5-4, so they're coming back a little bit. They're only 1 game under 500 now. Winnipeg is 8-7-1. Stars over the Avalanche 4-1. A good win for Dallas, who's starting to come around a little bit. They're back to 500 at 8-8-1, so they rushed off a slow start. Colorado's 8-5-2. Flames over Coyotes 4-3 in overtime. A nice win for Calgary, who's 9-7-2. Arizona's 9-4-2. And Matthew Tkachuk got the game winner. Blues over the Canucks 2-1 in overtime. St. Louis 10-3-3. Vancouver 9-3-3. Jaden Schwartz gets the game winner there. Wild over the Ducks 4-2. A nice win for Bruce Boudreau against his former team. And the Anaheim Ducks, that's funny now, it's his former team, so that must feel very good for Boudreau. Sharks over the Blackhawks 4-2. I did say that this was a game that the Sharks needed, and they got it. 5-10-1 on the year. Chicago's 4-7-3. 2 games on the slate tonight. The nationally televised game, 8 o'clock, NBCSN. Red Wings at the Rangers from Madison Square Garden. I think the Rangers will bounce back from their bad loss against the Senators and get a much-needed win against a Red Wings team that they're quite frankly just better than. So I like the Rangers to get back to 500 on national TV tonight. I think they are embarrassed after their performance. They were booed on home ice a night after the Knicks were booed on their home court. And I think that they're motivated. Capo Caco's starting to get into a bit of a rhythm. And I think that the Rangers will come out and win by multiple goals tonight at home. And then the Blues at the Oilers at 8:30. So that's a very interesting game. 2 teams whose point totals are in the 20s. Blues don't even miss Vladimir Tarasenko, and that's crazy to me that they're playing this well without him. Next, I want to talk about the college football games from last night and look ahead to tonight's lone game, all Maction. Toledo over Kent State 35-33. Toledo is 6-3 and Kenton's 3-6. Western Michigan over Ball State 35-31. Western Michigan 6-4, Ball State 4-5. So now it looks like that those teams that were off the hot starts that were surprises are now coming back to reality a little bit, and the teams that we thought were going to be good are starting to come around, conversely. And then tonight, 8 o'clock, ESPN2, Miami of Ohio against Ohio. Should be an interesting game tonight. Ohio's giving 6.5. The over-under's 55. I'm going to take the over here because the juice on Ohio is so big right now at minus 141. So I'm going to take the over in this game. I think both these teams are going to score a lot. Ohio will win the game, obviously. So give me the over 55 in this game. I think Ohio wins like 35-27 or something like that. It'll be somewhat competitive as well. One thing I want to talk about real quick before I do best bet is that Cam Newton was put on IR yesterday, so his season is over. That means Kyle Allen will be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers for the rest of the way. I'm curious if the Panthers are faking this move in a weird way and want to move on from him, or if he seriously has a foot problem. Kyle Allen's had one bad game of his whole NFL career so far. Don't forget he played very well in Week 17 last year against Teddy Bridgewater and the Saints in the Superdome. They don't miss Cam Newton. That's just the reality of the situation. Kyle Allen hasn't been terrible, although he was terrible against the 49ers, and that's it. Another interesting thing is that the best player on this team is Christian McCaffrey. I mean, a lot of us kind of knew that already, but for people that didn't realize that before are obviously realizing it now, that was Jeff Burns' preseason pick to win the MVP, and he might actually win it, and that'd be the first running back to win MVP since Adrian Peterson. I don't think McCaffrey would win it. I think that Russell Wilson's ahead of him. I think that Lamar Jackson is ahead of him. And even Aaron Rodgers, despite a bad game last week, is probably still ahead of him because of name recognition and position of value. I think that Rodgers could very well make a MVP statement on Sunday against McCaffrey and the Panthers. So Cam Newton's season's over, but Carolina's season is not. Christian McCaffrey has been their calling card all season long. He's been the best running back in the league this season. And I just don't think they'll miss him. And I actually think that he's played his final game as a Panther. I'm going to get more into this conversation when I have Russell Baxter on later tonight, as he'll come on and we'll talk about some key NFL storylines through the first 9 weeks of the season, and who's his MVP so far, his surprise team, his flop team, and many other league storylines that are important. Okay, best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. It's going to be all college basketball because that's just a big-time sport, and there are a lot of locks. Give me Butler over IUPUI. Give me Hofstra over St. Jose State. Give me Georgetown over Mount St. Mary's. I almost said North Carolina over Notre Dame, but I don't want to pull the trigger. South Carolina over North Alabama. Oklahoma State over Oral Roberts. Vandy over Southeast Missouri State. Although I'm not really super about that pick. Louisiana Tech over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Stanford over Montana. UC Santa Barbara over Jackson State. UCLA over Long Beach State. Then we'll go to the NBA. We'll take the Rockets over the Warriors. We'll take the Raptors over the Kings, and that's it. Plus 159. We'll wager a crooked number like $7, and pay out $18.12. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow with bold projections for Week 11. College basketball, college football, NBA, NHL, Thursday night football, and any other news that happens in the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.